World Autism Awareness Day is an internationally recognized day on 2nd April every year to raise awareness about people with autism spectrum disorders. I'm very happy to be in conversation with our special guest, Shalini Singh, where she works with special needs population and hear her views on autism. Shalini Singh, welcome to my channel, Digital Wellness.
It's wonderful. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm very honored to be here and gratitude. Yeah.
Um, Let me start by asking you, Shalini Singh. I was researching and looking at the great work that you are doing. Firstly, let me start by asking you a little about your journey, Shalini Singh.
Yeah. So as I always say, every life has a story. So my life also has a story. So I was working in London in the field of in the retail sector, computers, being a software professional, and then we moved back to India way back in 2010. And that was the moment I realized that I was not made for machines. I was made for the, like, the emotions, the thought pattern, the behavior of people. They would always excite me, and I wanted to delve deeper into this. And it coincided, my wish coincided with my son being diagnosed on the autism spectrum. So my life changed, my life changed from that point onwards. And I felt, they say every life has a calling. So I completely changed my field. I left computers, like, I just closed that door, I shut that door down. And then I progressed further in the field of autism, because now as I say this, it is in my DNA, because I have somebody at home. And then I work with the neurodiverse population right now. I also did my master's in counseling psychology. The reason I did was because I always had an aptitude to to connect with people. My friends would always call me saying that you are somebody who can be an agony aunt of many. So I thought, why not also give some more technical skills to this attitude of mine, or this character of mine, so that I am able to expand my horizon, help more and more people. And also, when you work with a special needs child, you are not working only with the child, you work with the whole family. And how I can connect also is not the child, also as a parent, because I had my own, the journey of why me, then the dilemma, then the confusion, and then they say world keeps crashing down. So the same thing. So why not use my counseling skills also to help the parents and others alike. And also I happen to be a play therapist, a storyteller, and a life skills coach. So this is my brief about my life's calling, or the realization of my life.
Very interesting,
Yes, Sujata.
Shalini, from being the traditional software engineer to what you are doing in changing lives of many people. You seem to be very multi-talented and multi-skilled. But what really interested me, more was you were talking something about play therapy and storytelling. What is it all about, Shalini?
So I'll tell first about play therapy. Play actually is one of the very important developmental milestone. We always talk about language, communication, the motor, the fine motor skills, the gross motor skills. But play sometimes is something we do not understand much, as in the developmental implications of play. So it happens to be one of the milestones which is very important. Okay, play. Why play, and why is it so important? Because play is a skill which teaches you not only communication, it teaches you speech, it teaches you emotions, it teaches you turn taking, it teaches you discipline, it teaches you cognition, it teaches you sometimes the feeling of me winning, the feeling of losing, right? So it happens to be a very important milestones. So what happens now, I'm talking from the perspective of a special needs child. So they already have got a couple of developmental milestones delayed, And when we assess the play, okay, so we realize that they have not been able to develop the play skills appropriately as per the age. And when you technically look at those skills, we start from, solitary play when the child is playing on his own. Then comes the parallel play where the child sits and there is somebody else. We just play. I'm playing with my toy and you are playing with your own toy. And then comes joint play where I share my toy with you, you share my toy with you. So understanding this, so how much can it happen? How many things can happen when there is a joint play? I give you eye contact. I call you, hi Sujata, and you call me, oh Shalini, yes. And then I show you my red color toy. You show me your blue color toy. So I realize that you have a blue color toy. I have a red color car, right? So many things happen. Then this is also something which we do not at times give importance to. So when I assess the child, I look at the developmental level, the play level they are in. I sort of go down, I do the assessment, I go down to the level of the child, and then I make a plan so that we are able to implement few modalities and make age appropriate development play wise. And when I say play wise, when it has been shown actually, when a child is able to play age appropriately, definitely there is a very high chance that all other milestones will be, catching fast on. So this is a very important, very important skill which one should have, which I handle, which I do. And also talking about the so-called neurotypical or the normal world, I also am a play therapist with the, I would say, the capability of dealing young adults and adolescents with stress and anxiety disorders. So again, this is something which is not much heard about in India, but yes, play can be used even for addressing the anxiety and other disorders in the teenagers and the young adults. So this is play. And then coming to storytelling. So a bit about how I went from being a corporate lady to the special need and then the storytelling. If you see, they're all scattered, but I found a connection. And how did I find a connect? So while I was doing my life skills coaching, I happened to realize that when we had our presentations, I happened to realize that I had a good skill which I never knew about, and it was storytelling. So it so happened that all my presentations were in the form of a story, and the audience would love it. And then I started getting feedback from everybody that why not take it to the next level. So I did my course from the University of Tennis, and I'm a storyteller. So how I connect storytelling to the neurodiverse population, that is the normal, so-called normal population, and especially as we are talking about autism. So more about the special needs kids, and how about the impact of stories on their life. So coming back to that, if I can ask you something, Sujata, I can ask you, maybe tell me about the Newton's third law. I think you might fumble. If I talk about the thermodynamics, the law of thermodynamics, you might not remember, okay? But when I ask you about how about the crow and the thirsty crow story, would you even take 2 seconds? You would just blurt it out, right? Why? Because anything taught in the form of story always remains inside us, always remains in our memory. And this is the easily, you connect with stories. And when we talk about the special needs child, a story, when I'm talking about a story, what does a story give? A story has a lot of elements, So now see, my body language has changed. A crow, just thirsty. That boy, he was running so fast and he fell down. Oh, he got hurt. Oh, and he was crying, and mama came. See, these sentences, they could have just been told like, simply. But then in the form of stories, were you not able to sort of visualize? Were you not able to connect to me? Were you not able to see, oh, there was a boy, he fell down, and you were just able to connect. So what I meant to say was stories have a very powerful way. They have got a lot of elements. Elements of eye contact. When I tell you a story, even if you are gazing elsewhere, your eyes will be on me. So the kids with autism, they have a very poor eye contact. So when I start my stories, The eye focuses on me. Then the elements, the emotions. Oh, he was very sad, and he said, Mama, see, look, the blood is coming out. So what happened? The emotions. Father took the young girl to the chocolate shop, and she was so happy looking at the various kinds of chocolates. Red, yellow. There was a purple candy as well. So what did you see? Lot of colors, like you got so much of information, emotions, right? The girl was happy. So when I say happy, a child who is sort of not able to connect, who is not able to understand the emotions much, has his eye contact not only on me but is able to connect more. Cry is for sadness or hurt or injury. Happiness is with, like, that big smile on the face. So it becomes an element of emotions as well. It also teaches you lot of other cues, as in, the environment, the surroundings, the colors, the shapes, because you sit down and then you teach a child, this is red, this is blue, this is green. And why not I get a red candy and I get a blue balloon and I get a pink pajama in my stories and the characters? The child connects to it very, very much. And then comes the element of surprise, the element of excitement. And then there comes the facial expression. Are you not surprised, Sujata? Are you not? All of you who are listening to me? Yes. But you know what? I'm going to wind up now because I'm very tired. I just want to sleep. Can I sleep? Can I see all of you tomorrow? Are you not able to connect, Sujata? Isn't it? You're able to connect me more than the usual, the conversation, right? So what happens is, when I'm having the storytelling sessions with my kids who have got so many milestones delayed, they're able to connect with me more. And then, stories has no boundaries. I have done storytelling for corporates, for the college students, for the teenagers. So it's a very good way of non-directive teaching. When I say you should have a discipline, they do not listen, right? But when I have a story which circles around the element of discipline, the takeaways is so much. So it's a very, very potent medium. Indian society, I think India still is in the nascent state of realizing the impact of stories. But maybe crusaders like me, we are taking it on, marching ahead, and definitely going to make impact with my stories for the specially abled children.
So Shalini very well said about the play therapy and storytelling. One last question. This being an Autism Awareness Day, I wanted to ask you to share your thoughts to all of us.
So Sujata, I will break it into two parts. The first would be, I just want to demystify autism, because there still seems to be a lot of ignorance in the society about autism. So I would begin this with saying that autism is not a mental disorder. People with autism, kids with autism, they do not have any mental disease per se. It's just that they have some neurodevelopmental delays and they can be mainstreamed in the society. The second is, people believe that the kids with autism do not have emotions, they cannot speak, which again is not true. A child with autism can show you all emotions. They can speak, they can write, they can read, they can go to a mainstream school, they can go to college. Yes, my son is going to a mainstream school. And then there was a lot of talk going about which said that vaccines cause autism. There has been no scientific proof which relates to the onset of autism to being vaccinated at around 2.5. So I would say that people feel very safe, go forward, have your kids vaccinated. And also, couple of times they used to say, when a child with autism was in the midst of a temper tantrum, people around would say, okay, see, so now this child has thrown this behavior, and don't you think it is because the way the parents have handled this child? So this again, this is not true, because the child is in a temper tantrum because he's not able to communicate properly. There are so many sensory overloads. So couple of things for us as a society to understand, and I would say that they have limitless abilities. It's just that we, as a person, as a society, as a part of society, just have to make them feel very loved, very accepted. Let them come into our world, let us go into their world, and you know what, the world will become much more beautiful. And let us do it bit by bit and see how much change change, really believe me, can change. And I'll come to the second part. This is especially to all those parents there, and why I say it with so much of conviction. This is not coming from a special educator, from a storyteller. No, this is the mother speaking. Okay, so my life came crushing down when I came to realize that my son at the age of 4 was under autism spectrum disorder. And now what is this? It was a 6-letter word. We do not know what is it. So what I did was the usual, the crying, why me, all those things were going on at the back. But you know what? From day one, I thought, okay, this is a fact that this is there, this is will exist. So what can I do? Why do I blame me and my son and my karmas for that? Let me fight it. And you know what happened? I started reading and reading and reading. And so with knowledge, they say with knowledge comes power. Yes, it comes, it gives you power. And then I started reading more. I started understanding my child more. And then I realized that, okay, what is happening in his therapy center? Why are they doing this? And then I started questioning the therapist. So when you become a very integral part of the child's therapy, and also the therapy did not stop at the therapy center. When he would come home, because I already was equipping myself with a lot of information, I would have my own plans for my child. So what happened was, being a parent who took the onus also on myself to sort of equip myself with few abilities, with more information, I could be a very important part of my son. So this is for all of you. You know what, we have we you know it's very normal, it's very human to say that, okay, I'm going to pay this much for an hour, I take my child to the therapist and I bring him back and my job is done. No, do that. But you know what, when you are going, when you're coming back, and when you are at home, spend time with the child, give them love, give them a lot of acceptance. Even if you feel like crying, even if you go into that deep dungeon of despair, do that. But you know what, never leave action. I always was very active, as like, always with this mode of fighting, I'm going to fight it. And which led to a lot of confidence in me, and I started making a circle around myself. So the circle included other mothers with the same condition. And then you know what, unity, they say unity gives you a lot of power. Same thing. And I always say now that what has worked for me is going to work for you. So what only works is patience, perseverance, perseverance, and a donkey's life. I always say my life is a donkey's life. And you know what? Do that, and you will stand on a pedestal, and you will say, "Come on." You used to laugh at me, but see what my son is capable of. And have this fighter's attitude. God always makes balance. They always makes balance. If one element is weak, you realize that you will have so many other elements in your life which are stronger than so many. I always keep this clear for myself when I was, deep despair, that okay, even if he has given me a son with this condition, I have got maybe many more strong points which I can work on, which gives me more happiness and confidence. And so I made a balance. I took care of myself also. And as I talk to you, all those things are, playing in my mind. And I really want all the parents to wake up, even if you're crying, work, and just go take on the world and surprise the world with your abilities and your son's abilities. And do it, guys, do it, please.
It's
Yes.
a wonderful, passionate words that you actually shared with everybody, Shalini. Your own experience is no better than, whatever you can coach and teach. How, with your own experience, you have not only transformed life of your son, but, you are trying to actually in this journey participate in transforming lives of a lot more others. This is so dear to me what you spoke. I've spoken to so many interviewers in the past, but I can tell you that you've really touched my heart, because it's not easy as a parent, right? So thank you so much, Shalini, because sharing with my viewers that autism is not a permanent, it's not a disease in the first place. It's not a permanent disease. And, it is just like each one of us have, like, a diabetes or a BP, or, you learn to live with it. So autism is not a taboo disease, and it's not a mental disorder. Thank you so much for sharing this wonderful, words of wisdom on this Autism Awareness Day. Thanks once again, Shalini.
Thank you so much. And I just wish all of us good health and be safe. Thank you. Thank you, Sujata.
Thank you.